Valdovinos,
Here.
and Presiding Officer Stuart Walker.
Present.
You have a quorum, sir.
Okay. We've got two new members. So I'll introduce Victor Valdovinos. Would you like to say a few words of welcome, Victor?
Well, welcome to sunny South Padre Island. From sunny South Padre Island, I appreciate the opportunity to be on this advisory board or committee, and we'll see what happens. So, Stuart, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too, Victor. Our other new member is Kenneth Rocha. Kenneth, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, sir. Hello, everyone. I'm Kenneth Rocha. I'm here in Central Texas. Right now, currently in Austin. I'm really excited after 20 years here with code enforcement. Excited to be part of this board or committee to steer our profession in toward the future, and really excited. So I appreciate it, y'all.
Welcome aboard to you too. Okay, so moving on to C, I'll call on Delma Sotero, the Assistant General Counsel.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good
Can y'all
morning.
hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Can y'all see my screen? I'm sharing on behalf of Delma. Can y'all see that?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Good morning. For the record, my name is Delma Sotero. I am the Assistant General Counsel for TDLR with this program. Welcome to the new members, and thank you for your time and for your service in advance. So today we'll be presenting the open government training identified as the agenda item C. Can we get good, please? So the open government training includes the discussion of the Open Meetings Act, the Administrative Procedures Act, and the Public Information Act. The first statute, the Open Meetings Act, requires the meetings of a governmental body to be open to the public and preceded by a public notice that must contain the time, the place, and the subject matter of the meeting. I know that most of you are familiar with all these concepts, but yeah, the Open Meetings Act we need to comply with the public notice and that all meetings have to be open to the public. Go to the next one, please. So there are certain concepts that are key in ensuring the compliance with the Open Meetings Act. And the first one is the quorum. A quorum is a majority of the members of the governmental body. In this case, the majority of the members of this advisory committee is fixed by rule and a statute and is composed of 5 members. The committee is composed on phone 9, but with 5, there would be a quorum. Today, it is my understanding that we have a quorum, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, in order for the members of the committee to make an official or take an official action on a subject or matter presented, there must be always a quorum. If we don't have a quorum, the committee may still meet and have discussions, but they may not take any official action. The second key concept that we have today is deliberation. This term is defined by statute and is a verbal or written exchange between a quorum of a governmental body or between a quorum of a governmental body and another person concerning an issue within the jurisdiction of the governmental body. The third one is the meetings. The statute has two very specific definitions for meeting. And according to it, it's a meeting occurs anytime a quorum of a governmental body engages in a deliberation as defined by the statute, or anytime the body takes formal action. The fourth concept is notice. The act requires advance written notice of the date, the time, the place, and the subject of each meeting. CDLR provides this notice in the form of an agenda, I'm sure you are familiar with, and the notice must be filed with the Texas Secretary of State at least 7 days before the meeting and posted on TDLR and the Secretary of State's website. The board or committee may not engage in discussions about a subject that was not included in the agenda. So what about social functions, conventions, and workshops? I hear you asking. Well, we have a question, kind of a twist in here, and the question is, considering that a meeting occurs whenever a quorum of a governmental body engages in discussion about an issue within the governmental body's jurisdiction, can members ever meet in an informal setting without violating the Open Meetings Act? And the answer is yes. Members are free to engage in conversations that are incidental to an event. However, a conversation will be subject to the Act if it involves a quorum, the members engage in discussions or make decisions about the public business, or take formal action about the public business. Key point to remember: always be aware of any situation occurring outside of a properly noticed meeting in which a quorum of members is present and engaged in a discussion. Do not engage in substantive conversations relating to committee business or policy when a quorum is involved and outside of an officially noticed and scheduled meeting. And be aware of the walking quorum. A walking quorum occurs when fewer than a quorum of members engage in discussion about official business and then communicate those discussions to other members, while fewer than a quorum of members are part of the initial discussion, the initial communication. Following communication with other members will result in a quorum discussing official business outside of public meeting. Here we have an example. On a 5-member advisory board, 2 members exchange phone calls and emails expressing their thoughts on an upcoming rule change, and exchange some research that they have individually performed regarding the issue. One of these board members later forwards the exchange to another member. These board members have now engaged in a walking quorum by discussing official businesses outside of the properly noticed board meeting. Because now, with the second member forwarding the conversations to a third member, now there's a quorum. Walking quorums can occur during conference calls, video conferences, always discussions, emails, text messages, any other communication technology. And it's a concept combined with newer technologies such as Twitter, Facebook, and instant messaging that raise new issues about the meetings and compliance with the Open Meetings Act. The best practices to avoid a walking quorum. To avoid participating in a walking quorum, members should not meet in small groups, discuss committee business, and then communicate those discussions to other members, send emails or text messages to a quorum of members regarding official business, even if each email is addressed and sent to each member individually. Create posts on social media about committee business where there is a likelihood that a quorum of members could participate in those discussions. Or ask a quorum of members, even on an individual basis, for feedback or comments on board or committee business outside of the public meeting. This is also called polling, which is essentially conducting an informal vote on an issue. Guidelines for when the board has open sessions. A board or committee is limited to discussing the specific items on the agenda. Remember, we discussed that the agenda has to be published with the date, time, and place of the meeting. So the board then is limited to discussing the specific items on the posted agenda. During the public comment portion of the meeting, the public may have the opportunity to speak, and the presiding officer may set reasonable limits on commenters. If a member of the public or a member of the board raises a subject that was not included in the agenda, any discussion on the subject must be limited to proposing to include that particular subject on the agenda for a future meeting. That's the only discussions that we can have on a subject that has not been included in the agenda. So the penalties. Okay. Next slide. Thank you. Penalties and remedies for Open Meetings Act violations. There are civil and criminal. The civil remedies are based on any interested person, including the media, may petition the court to stop actions taken in violation of the Open Meetings Act. The Open Meetings Act also specifically states that an action taken in violation of the Act is voidable. So whatever decision is made in violation of the Open Meetings Act can be void. But also members who knowingly participate in a walking quorum or who knowingly participate in a meeting that is closed to the public are subject to the misdemeanor criminal penalties. These penalties are a fine of $100 through $500, confinement in county jail for 1 to 6 months for both jail time and the fine. And the next slide. Oh, avoid communications. The best practices for the Open Meetings Act. Avoid communications that involve quorum board or committee members about official business outside of the properly noticed public meeting. I feel like I've said this like a million times, but it is very important that you avoid communications outside of a meeting. So here we have also a list of the resources for additional information about the Open Meetings Act. The last one is the phone number of the General Counsel's office. So if you have any questions about it, just give us a call and we'll be happy to respond to them or address them as you need. The second statute, well, let me go first. Is there any question for the Open Meetings Act or related to the Open Meetings Act? Okay, I can't see hands, so I'll keep going. The second statute that promotes an open and transparent government is the Administrative Procedures Act. The purpose of the Texas Administrative Procedure Act, also known as the APA, are to establish the minimum standards of uniform practice and procedure for state agencies and provide for public participation and transparency during the rulemaking process. According to the APA, a rule is a statement of general applicability made by a state agency that implements, interprets, or prescribes law or policy, or describes the state agency's procedure or practice requirements, except those related to internal management or the agency's organization that do not affect private rights or procedures. A rule includes, or the definition for a rule includes a new rule, an amendment to an existing rule, and the repeal of an existing rule. A rule may be developed based on any of the following sources: legislative changes, advisory board ideas, TDLR staff recommendations, the 4-year rule review that's established in the APA, and a rule petition submitted in writing by an interested person. According to the APA, an interested person is anyone who is a Texas resident, a business entity located in Texas, a governmental subdivision in Texas, or a public or private organization that is not a state agency but is located in Texas. Here we have a flowchart of the rulemaking process that we at TDLR follow, and it's established in the APA. As you can see, it has only a few steps, but they are very, very important. And it's established by the statute, so we must follow them all. So the process starts with a rule idea that may come from any of the sources that we previously discussed, and then the draft. The draft goes for internal review and an analysis. Then it's sent to the governor's office for review. Then it's presented to the advisory board or advisory committee. After that step, the draft is now considered a proposed rule and is filed with the Texas Register and posted for public comment. The agency then has to wait 30 days for the public comment period, review those comments and make any necessary changes, and then present those changes made to the proposed rules, if any, and the comments received during the 30-day public comment period to the advisory board to receive a recommendation to the commission. The proposed rule is then presented to the commission for adoption, and if adopted, a notice will be filed with the Texas Register and finally become effective, usually after 20 days from filing. The rule will become effective. The APA also requires the agencies to go through a rule review process. This one starts with filing a notice of intent to review. That notice is filed with the Secretary of State to be published in the Texas Register. It also has a 30-day period to receive public comments. Then the Assistant General Counsel assigned to the program reviews all the comments and make a recommendation to the commission, and the commission then reviews the filing, the comments, and the recommendation made to determine if it meets the rule needs to be readopted, repealed, or readopted with amendments. And then it's presented to the advisory board. Here's the list of additional rulemaking resources that you can use as references. Again, the last one is our phone number, so please don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions. The last statute that we will discuss today is the Public Information Act, also known as the Open Records Act. And this statute is intended to allow public access to information about the affairs of the government, and the official acts of public officials and employees. So the general rule is that everything the government does should be public. The act makes all documents, records, and other information relating to official business open to the public unless there is an exception in the statute. Public information includes any electronic communication created, transmitted, received, maintained, or maintained on any device if it is in connection with official agency business. The act should be construed liberally in favor of granting requests for information. The public may submit to the agency a written request asking for copies of public information or requesting to inspect certain information that is safeguarded in our office. TDLR uses the TDLR Records Center to receive and respond to the open records requests. This Records Center can be accessed on the TDLR website, through the TDLR website. According to the Act, a state agency must respond to an open record request as soon as possible, but not later than 10 business days after receiving the request. Here are the general rule and the most common exceptions to disclose requested information. The general rule is that there is a presumption of openness. However, the statute requires that certain information be redacted from an open record. For example, the date of birth, most email addresses, and their private driver's license plates, and VIN records, credit card numbers, and other information as required by HIPAA and for Texas Medical Records Privacy Act. For an agency to withhold or redact any information, it must seek a ruling from the Office of the Attorney General. Because the Public Information Act provides such a short time frame for agencies to respond to an open records request, remember, it's only 10 business days. We would appreciate it if you as an advisory board or committee member receive a written request for records or correspondence that looks like a public information request. Please forward it ASAP to the advisory board team, and they will make sure that the request is received by the Office of the General Counsel, the Open Records team. And if the GC Open Records team requests information from any of you as an advisory board member, please respond as soon as possible. Finally, below is a list of additional Public Information Act resources for references with our phone number so you can communicate with us with any questions or concerns that you may have. That's the end of the presentation. I am open to receive any questions that you may have.
All right, here are no questions. Thank you, Dalma.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the next item of business, the approval of minutes. Committee, you received the minutes of the December 8th, 2021 meeting in the meeting materials. Does anybody have any comments? If not, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Was Mr. McKinney correct?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Donnie McKinney.
All right, do I have a second?
Matthew Christensen, I second.
All right, thank you, Matthew. All right, we got a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Angelica, you want to do a roll call vote?
Yes, sir. Hubert McKinney,
Yes.
Kenneth Rocha,
Yes.
Matthew Christensen,
Yes.
Jody Knight,
Yes.
Jose Victor Valdovinos.
Can I vote yes, even though I wasn't here?
Yes, sir. And presiding officer Stuart Walker.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Thank you, Angelica. Moving on to the next item of business, public comments. We did not have any, so won't have any public comments at this meeting. So we'll move on to the next item of business, staff reports. Up first is the licensing division, Regina Horton.
Hi, yes. Good morning, advisory board members. My name is Regina Horton, and I'm the team lead for the health professions team. I will be providing you the statistics today for Code Enforcement Officer Program. You should have a copy of the report in front of you. So at the end of September fiscal year 2025, we processed a total of 60 new licenses. That's both for Code Enforcement Officer and Code Enforcement Officer in Training. We renewed a total of 94 licenses between the two, Code Enforcement Officer and Code Enforcement Officer in Training. The total population for Code Enforcement Officer was 2677, and the total population for Code Enforcement Officer in Training is 245. Not much of a difference in the population, slightly the same from fiscal year 2024. That concludes my report. Do you have any questions?
All right. Thank you, Regina. Here are no questions. We'll move on to the Education and Examination Division.
Thank you.
John Shieldwatcher.
Good morning, presiding officer and board members. My name is John Schildwachter, and I will represent the Education Examination Division today. Before you today, we have the examination statistics for FY24 and the very first month of FY25. You can see they've been fairly consistent from quarter to quarter with minimal variation between them. Next slide down, please. Here are the continuing education statistics for the current fiscal year and the last fiscal year. The number of new provider registrations are in that first line, and then the total is on the line below those numbers. And again, you can see we've stayed very, very stable with those numbers as well. So I believe that's it. And so I'm available, and I'll do my best to answer any questions you may have. And I thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, John. Moving on to Customer Service Division, Myra Rodriguez.
There we go. Good morning, board members and TDLR staff. My name is Myra Rodriguez, and I am going to be going over the report for the Customer Service Division. I am the manager that oversees this program. If you can see here, we only have statistics so far this year for the September, for the first month of the fiscal year, September, which will, you can see it's 226 contacts, 20 emails, and 206 calls. In comparison to fiscal year 2024, we are slightly lower by 36 contacts total. And so far, this is the only data I have available for this current fiscal year, but it seems to stay pretty much around the 250, 300 mark in general overall. This concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions that you might have for us.
All right, thank you, Myra.
Thank you.
Moving on to the Enforcement Division, Sarah McConnell.
Sorry about that. I couldn't get off mute fast enough. Good morning, board members and everyone else. I am Sarah McConnell, and I'm a prosecutor in the Enforcement Division. I'll be presenting the report today, and I'll be covering key statistics and case prioritizations. It's been some time since our last meeting, which I believe was in 2021. Is that right? Have y'all missed these meetings? It seems kind of lonely. I can't believe it. It's interesting that it's been so much time that's gone in between. Hopefully we won't let that happen again. Well, let's turn to the first section, which contains our division's performance measures, which of course are presented to the legislature. Oh, thank you. I love that you just moved that up for me. That's always nice to see. As you can see, we've reformatted the layout so you can compare fiscal years next to each other, which I think makes it so much easier when you're trying to look at differences between each year. And as you can see, the number of complaints open this year has decreased from last year. Now, the second section is the criminal history section, CHR, and this relates to applicants who may have disqualifying criminal histories. You can see that the applications with a criminal history has increased since last year. Excuse me. These cases are handled by our criminal history prosecutors, and just overall, it may look alarming that it looks like more criminals are applying, but that's not necessarily the case. It just seems in general, more people are applying, not just to code enforcement officer positions. It's throughout all of TDLR. So when you have, the difference between 92,000 and 104,000 in this year, I'm sorry, 92,000 in 2023 versus 104,000 overall in 2024, you'll see that when you have a bigger population that does apply, your people are more apt, their criminal histories there will be more people with criminal histories. That's just kind of the name of the game when we're looking at statistics. So don't worry, it's not just more criminals applying. The third section, if we can turn to that, that's entitled Complaints Received by Source. So that's basically where the Enforcement Division's complaints come from, whether they're from consumers or if they're come from within the agency. And so, as you can see there, they actually went down in 2024 by, looks like 25 or so within the consumer division. Excuse me, I've had a frog in my throat for 2 days and it's driving me bananas. But overall, that's a great thing to see that they've gone down from consumers. Let's hoping that means that there are less issues that are going on and that our people are doing a better job. So if you turn to the top of page 2, the 5th section, and that shows cases, excuse me, the orders, wait, hold on a minute. I'm sorry, we're looking at caseloads and enforcement. And I don't know why I was trying to, oh, hold on, I'm sorry. So this is, the very top is the pie charts that show you the breakdown between departments within CEO, departmental breakdown of criminal history versus that within TDLR. And overall, you can see where those numbers lay. Then we move on to caseloads in enforcement. And so going from financial year 23 versus 24, it looks the same at the beginning of the fiscal year. Sorry, that keeps moving. But the number of complaints opened in CEO actually went down from 23 to 24. And of course, if they went down, that means that the number of cases that are closed also went down from, let's see, 25 to 26 and 24 as well. Now, moving over to orders issued, it shows that none were issued in 2023, but we had one that was issued in 2024, and that's under that, you'll look at that under the case that's highlighted later in our report. So then we're going to move over to the sixth section entitled Penalties and Consumer Remedies. And that just shows that since we didn't have any orders in 2023, we couldn't actually have any penalties or consumer remedies. So we also didn't collect anything if we couldn't order anything. However, obviously, we'll see that we did have one in 2024 where we collected and assessed $1,500 for the one agreed order, which we will be going over, as I said earlier, later after we go through all of these sections in the case that we are highlighting. Moving on, we're going to go to the cases closed without disciplinary action. And so this area shows only minor differences between 2023 and 2024. In 2023, 18 cases were closed due to insufficient evidence, while only 14 were closed for the same reason in 2024. So this is pretty negligible. Turning to the ninth section, which is the top CEO alleged violations at opening for fiscal year 23 and 24. Again, only minor changes, except there were 7 alleged gross negligence claims in 2023 compared to none in 2024. So looks like things are improving. The 10th and final section, which is entitled CEO violations resulting in disciplinary action, again rose from 0 in 2023, which I already covered earlier because that's when we discussed the fact that there were no agreed orders in 2023. We did have, excuse me, more in 24 than we did in 2023 by 1. Next, which I already told you about, you will see in your packets the case highlight, and that is something you can read in your time. And that's followed by, last but not least, the complaint prioritization overview. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with it, but essentially under this new process, we've reviewed each program's most frequent violations to identify and prioritize the cases that pose the greatest risks of consumer harm or injury. Excuse me, there's that frog again. The goal is to focus our limited resources on complaints that have the greatest impact on public health and safety in the most efficient manner. So you'll find all that information on the process in your packet. And if you want to move forward, I believe we are at the end. And you see these 2 paragraphs that you're looking at right now. Explain the complaint prioritization overview in greater detail and explain the background and why we came up with this process. So I'm available for any questions that you have. That's the end of my presentation. And go ahead. Somebody have?
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you, Sarah, for your presentation.
Well, sure, Mr. Walker. Anything for you guys?
All right. Moving on to the compliance division, we'll call on Stuart Myrick, who spells his name wrong.
I'll take exception to that, but I'll just disregard that. Good morning. Stuart Myrick, TDLR Compliance. You have my report in front of you. Victor, looking forward to seeing you down in South Padre Island in about 3 weeks. Outside of that, and the Code Enforcement Association of Texas, I'll be reaching out to them here in the next week or so to confirm I will be at that conference in Garland. Otherwise, I'll stand by for questions.
I can confirm that I saw Stuart at the Texas Environmental Health Association. Stuart, where were we?
College Station.
Yeah, College Station. And
which for this, person that bleeds burn orange, man, that was tough.
well, you did an outstanding job representing.
I have several friends there. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, moving on to Executive Office, Brandy Myers.
Good morning, Presiding Officer and board members. My name is Brandy Myers. I'm the Deputy Executive Director over Administrative Services for the agency. Since the last time this board met, we've had some changes in the executive office, and so I just kind of want to let you know who the leadership of the agency is now. So first, we have Ms. Courtney Auerbor, and she came to us from the Texas Workforce Commission, where she was the Workforce Development Director. And she does send her apologies for not being able to be with y'all today, as she's got another engagement that she's headed to, but did want to thank each and every one of you for your service on this board. And then next we have Mr. Steve Bruno. Y'all may recognize that name. He used to be our legislative director here at the agency, and now he is the Deputy Executive Director over our licensing services. And so he's responsible for the areas of customer service, licensing, and the education and examination divisions. Next, we have Ms. Susanna Holtz-Catrone, who joined our agency on the 1st of October, and she is our Deputy Executive Director over our regulatory services. So she's overseeing the divisions of enforcement, field inspections, and compliance divisions. She's also come to us from the Texas Workforce Commission, where she served as the Deputy General Counsel. And last, again, I'm Brandy Myers, Deputy Executive Director over the administration. So I have all of the indirect stuff, such as financial services, Office of Strategic Communications, asset management, IT, contracts and procurement, etc. I've been with the agency now for 5.5 years. I have over 16 years of experience in the state. I came from the Texas Medical Board, and I started at the agency as the Chief Financial Officer. So not new to the agency, but have been in this position now for about a year. So that is your agency leadership now. And so wanted to give you all those updates, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, Brandy, thank you for your report. Moving on to the next item of business, appointment and reappointment of work groups and possible assignments of tasks. Angelica, what do we need to do with that?
Yes, sir. So we have obviously some new committee members and then also some vacant spots. So I'm going to pull up our current work group list. Just give me 1 second. And so we just need to appoint some new folks. All right, let me know when y'all can see that.
We can see it.
Okay, great. So currently for enforcement, all we have is Mr. Walker. So we need 3 more members there. For the licensing work group, we have Mr. Walker and Mr. Christensen. And for education examination, we have Mr. Christensen and Miss Adrian. So for the last 2, we need 2 members assigned to each of those. So we can take volunteers, or Mr. Walker, if you want to appoint folks, we can do that as well.
Okay, so as far as the enforcement group, anybody want to volunteer? You're gonna just start naming names, guys.
Yeah, you can put me down for that one. Hubert McKinney.
This is Kenneth Rocha. You can put me down as well.
One more.
All right. Who,
Let's see, Mr. Baldovinos isn't assigned to any, but he could, again, request the other two, Miss Nike, or you could appoint Miss Adrian or Miss Brown. They're not here, so.
let's appoint Miss Brown.
Okay. All right, moving on to the licensing work group.
I'll volunteer for that. Victor Baldovinos.
Thank you, Victor.
Anyone else?
Kenneth, do you have any interest in licensing?
Yeah, I have an interest in all of them, but didn't want to pick up a spot if somebody else was interested. I had my sights set on the education one, but I'm happy to fill that role for licensing as well.
Well, okay, since you're interested in education, let's go ahead and add Jody to the licensing.
Oh, I wanted to do education.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You can
So,
put Miss Brown, oh, we already put Miss Brown, or Miss Adrian even.
yeah, I'm not sure how full Teresa's days are these days, you know.
Okay. Well, we can leave that one and we can come back to it.
Okay.
You can put me down for that licensing if you need to. Hubert McKinney.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
McKinney.
Thank you, Hubert.
That was quick and easy. Awesome. It's not anytime any of the work groups need to meet, we'll have some assignments.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, we haven't had anything lately, so don't expect anything unless anybody's got anything. Let Angelica know. Okay. All right. Moving on to the next item of business, recommended for agenda items for the next committee meeting. Does anybody have anything? And if
If you
not,
can't think of anything now, you can always email me as well.
yeah, and say if not, if something comes up after you think of something after the meeting, you know, just get with Angelica. She's our superstar. Next item of business, discussion of date, time, and location of next committee meeting. Angelica, I'll let you poll the committee at a later time for a future meeting.
Yes, sir.
And that brings us to our last item of business, adjournment. Can I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'm sorry, I'm reading my notes. I didn't read far enough. There is no need for a motion. Just want to say thank you for everybody attending the meeting today. It's good to see everybody again. This is, we haven't had a lot of work, but this is an important committee to be on, and I appreciate everybody's time and effort.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
See y'all next.